It's a minute gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time. Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. It's a glorious Tuesday morning, notwithstanding, I say to you, notwithstanding, whatever the situations, your troubles, your trials, your circumstances, or your situation, how adverse it may seem to you. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. And you don't have to agree with me, but you can spend the next hour with me. Hopefully between then and now and then, I might be able to impact you positively. To our listeners, viewers, wherever you are, we say thanks for being part of the conversation. Welcome to this another edition of To The Point for today. It's the 17th day of the month of January, and the month is really slipping away. To you, wherever you are in the region as well, in the region and in other parts of the diaspora, we say thanks for being part of the GBN family, and we say thanks to those of you that's following us via the different platforms, be it our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. Indeed, we say a wonderful good morning to you and welcome to this special edition of To The Point. My guest this morning, no stranger to the GBN. He's almost become family, and if you look at him, depending on which side the light strikes him, you might think that we are brothers. I want to say good morning to my dear old friend. Good morning to you, Dr. Panchoo. How are you?
Good morning, Joe. I am doing good. Well, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of our faithful listeners on this Tuesday morning program.
Indeed, Happy New Year to you as well. I must say, you look a bit rested. You look as though you're probably just coming from Bali, and I don't know, you've had the time of your life.
Well, being rested, yes, I am rested. I've been in out of state. I'm in California for the last month or so.
Oh, that's
with family. So I am rested, and I am hoping and looking forward to the beautiful things that will happen in my life for 2023. I'm hoping that you also will be blessed totally.
Well, it is totally received on your part. And I would assume, Doc, that as part of that, what I'm seeing, that bliss that I'm seeing, it has to do with where you are mentally, your mental space. You seem to be coping well.
Yes, peace of mind. And I tell you this, when somebody is enjoying peace of mind, a lot of things fall into place for them.
Right.
It's peaceful, it's restful, it's rejuvenating, and Joe, it is not about having a lot. Sometimes we think, well, I don't have a whole lot. I don't have money saved. I don't have a lot of food. I don't have a lot of nice clothes.
Right.
I don't have a fancy house or car. And people can be miserable. But if you can learn to be content, even with the small things, that gives you a peace of mind, psychologically and emotionally. And you not only look healthier, but you have a certain vibe about you.
Right.
Emotional peace.
Emotional peace. And let's see, I'm happy that you said so, because we live in an age where we are troubled on every side with different issues. Social issues, financial issues, family issues, health issues. And very often, Doc, you would agree that we can be bogged down. We can find in ourselves in a quagmire of uncertainty. And if we're not able to cope, if it becomes too saturated, if it saturates us too much mentally, it takes us to a dark place. And the truth is, though, so whether or not they deal with it, let's say, for instance, the issue of unemployment or whatever those other issues are, if not managed properly, we can get into a dark place. And the truth is, a lot of us, we're never too open to say, listen, I'm not in a good place mentally. And let's just start the conversation there. Why is it that we seem to have this negative, this closed approach to ever expressing what's happening to us inside in terms of the situations as they arise?
Joe, it is because people have been let down so much by by people that they trust, that you have to, what we can refer to as, safeguard your emotional well-being. So when we face disappointment, especially by people that we have grown to trust, or we have started to trust, it becomes very difficult when we get disappointed by them, for us to trust them, for us to have confidence in them. Secondly, you have to understand the human psyche and the human being. We tend to like to solve problems on by ourselves. We tend to believe that if I reach out for help, then it's a sign of weakness. And the human psyche says that I must always be strong, even when internally, emotionally, I am weak. So those two things combined together make the human being very skeptical about who to trust and who to reach out to.
And that sort of notion, I'm assuming you would agree, it can be a double-edged sword. It can be used as a means of shielding who we are. At the same time, it can expose us to our very selves, because we can self-destruct internally.
Absolutely, absolutely. And self-destruction is has so many negative implications. Um, you know, because it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing for not just us, but it's also a scary thing for people who think they know us, or people who know us. So when they see certain behaviors, especially behaviors that connotes negative energy, they start wondering, I thought I knew this person. I something must have gone wrong in his or her life to bring them to that point. So it becomes scary for people who are looking on and looking at you. No wonder why there is a lot of amazement in towards people who you think you know, and you think you know their behavior. And when you see certain things about them or of them, you are in a state of shock, because that is not who you think you know. Okay? So it is really important for people when they are suffering. And today I want us to talk, what is trending today? What is trending today? You hear a lot of things about, you know, scary things happening to people losing their job, especially. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today. The prospect of unemployment for people. You look at the news and what is trending today in terms of unemployment. You hear people whispering or talking loud. Really, they're not only just whispering about the fate of MNIB, and that's an entity that probably employ quite a number of workers, and so a state of uneasiness and emotional dysregulation is what's happening now, the trends. And so this morning I want us to sort of look at the psychological impact of unemployment and the scare of losing your job.
And I think we could probably even expand it. I think not just the fear of losing one's job. I think it goes beyond that. The fear, because the job is one thing, but I think you would have to agree, is that fear of not being able to satisfy my own needs, take care of my family, send my children to school. That is a fear, you would agree, Doc, that goes even beyond losing my job. Because some of us, it's a case where we are in jobs, but because we're not getting, because of where things are globally and economically, some of us, even while we're working, we still have that fear that bombards us that, look, I am still not able, I'm not in a place financially to do those things which I need to do.
And that is what makes it even scarier. Because already some people who are employed, you are right, they are underpaid or maybe underemployed, underutilized. And that is also a scary and an embarrassing place. And then you compound it now by the loss of your job or the uncertainty of a job. And when that happens, it it puts you in a tailspin of more despondency. You look at yourself and you think you're inadequate. Joe, if you lose your job right now, any one of us loses his or her job, it says something about us because no longer am I in a position to support the needs of myself and or my family.
Right.
And when you put a parent in a position where they are no longer able to provide for the basic necessities of their family, you are looking at a lot of spin-off, and we are going to talk a little about it as much as time will allow us to do. But the economic spin-off here means that I don't have disposable income anymore, or my disposable income is so shabby, is so limited.
So let me ask you.
I have to think of every month or every weekend or every fortnight which bill to pay, which creditor to keep on hold, because what I have is so limited.
And you would assume and agree with me that mental inadequacy, the longer you stay in that space, because for many of us, that which we speak of now is not necessarily a today conversation. Some of us, we would agree that, listen, I've been in a job for the last 20 years, Doc, and believe me, every month it's been the same conversation. How do we juggle the bills? After a period of time, it weighs down on you.
Yes, absolutely. After a period of time, it takes its toll on you emotionally. But not just emotionally, physically also. Because remember, we introduced our conversation this morning about, emotional stability and psychological equilibrium. When a person is able to go to bed at night and sleep restfully and peacefully, when he can enjoy a meal without any encumbrances, so that is a sense of relief and a sense. That's what life is about. Life, let me tell you something. We spend the greater part of our life and of our existence and our career trying to provide for our basic needs, our food, our clothing, our shelter, and once in a while a little vacation. But basically, if you think of all of the hard work that we do during the 60 or 70 years that we're allowed to live on Earth, all of the working piece part of our lives, we spend it trying to satisfy some basic needs. And so when I am no longer able to provide food or clothing or shelter, when my mortgage is in jeopardy, when my ability to buy food for my family or for myself becomes a challenge, it poses a physical challenge on you, the person.
So let me ask you that, Doc. How then? Because the conversation, the question that begs to be asked is, because the challenge comes from different fronts, from different avenues, and it comes all at the same time. So we're going through a dark place, whether it's 5 years, 6 years. Some of us, it has been that revolving door of uncertainty. But even before I go, let me ask you though, the COVID, I remember in the hype of the COVID conversation, there were concerns as to our mental state of health when we come out on the other side. And we are getting there. As a clinical psychologist, how concerned are you, though, as to where Grenadians, where we are as a people, given what we went through with COVID and with that gloom and uncertainty of what's happening out there re-COVID still?
Let me tell you this. I don't think emotionally that our population, our Grenadian population, has got out of the impact, the full impact of what COVID did to us. You know, I think we go about seemingly about our everyday life, you know, hoping that we will not remember the loss of loved ones. Remember, we lost over 200 plus people in our families, many of whom we were never able to give a normal, traditional burial. Remember that, you know. Let's not forget that. There was a time when we couldn't move, without having a face mask. There was a time when we was literally locked in our houses and in our yards. That's the furthest we could have reached for a couple weeks and couple weekends. There was a time period in our lives.
Weeks, you say, Doc?
Especially during the July August of 2020, when food became an uncertainty also. You understand that? So we have not got over that. But guess what's happening right now? It's instructive to understand and to know that there is the scare out there, and it's not just a scare. I am using a wrong word. I probably can't get the right word, but it's a reality out there that COVID has never gone away, and there is a likelihood that it can return to Grenada.
How does that affect us, though? We've been through the turmoil of COVID. It has literally smacked us left, right, and center emotionally, and we in that emotional tailspin. Just about the point in time when you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that conversation comes up, maybe not. What happens to you mentally? And if we could talk about it, what goes through a person's mental framework with that sort of uncertainty?
There is something in psychology and biology called muscle memory. So mark that word, muscle memory. In other words, when certain things, it's like for people who are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. That is, you have experienced something traumatic, and your life probably is taking a turn, and then one day something flashes back before you, or as a situation reminds you of that traumatic experience, and you go right back into a state of awareness and realization that, you know, I have not been healed, or I have not dealt with my that trauma sufficiently, because right now I am in a position where I feel the same way. So this is what is going to happen to people who never dealt with emotionally the turmoil and the trauma associated to COVID, and now it's hitting them right back. Watch this. I just saw a picture of the Honorable Prime Minister wearing a mask. Remember, you understand what I'm saying? He's posing in a picture with a mask on, which is sending a sort of subliminal message. Now, people don't understand that. So
when you say he's posing, you say he's posing as though to suggest what?
No, posting.
Oh, posting.
I said, yeah, he posted. Yeah, there is a current picture of him engaging yesterday with a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is that saying? That is saying that either he is probably not feeling well and does not want the other people close to him to be contaminated with a virus, or he's sending a message that maybe it's time for Grenadians to start wearing masks again.
Well, I don't necessarily. Well, I mean, that may or may not be. I mean, I would probably ponder on that if I asked the PM himself as to why. Because the truth is, there are persons who never actually stop wearing masks.
But it's not true, Joe, of him wearing mask.
Yeah, but how? And I understand that, and I'm not sure. There must be a reason. Somebody must have advised him for whatever reason or the other. But I don't
That's what
think
I'm saying.
it sends any message otherwise. Somebody wears a mask. Last week, I had two of your colleagues that were here with me, and they came wearing masks, and I didn't have anything. I didn't see not much about it.
Right. So that's the point I'm making when you ask about, when I talk about muscle memory. Okay. When I start seeing Joe wearing a mask, right? It takes me back to the place in 2020 when Joe was wearing a mask.
You can always
That's
argue.
the trigger.
Well,
That's the trigger.
But would you agree also that it takes the trigger affects different people, each of us differently? If I see you wearing a mask, all of a sudden I am starting to think that of a lot of pushbacks I probably had when it came to the heat of COVID, and I'm not getting myself into a defensive mode. I'm not going back there. Nobody's going to force me to do it, and it builds up that resistance in me. That if they think they're going to get me to wear it this time, so you would agree, there's always multiple varied responses to it, to those stimuli.
Oh yes. But what I'm saying here is that when you start seeing people who normally, within the last year, not wearing masks and now starting to wear masks, you start asking yourself, what is it? What is it that is triggering the mask wearing? Because that's how the mind works also.
Okay.
The mind works. That's how the mind works.
Okay.
It takes you back to the place where you once were. You are re-experiencing something.
How do we combat that, though? And that's the question I want to ask you. How do we? So there is muscle memory. You say muscle memory.
Yes.
Triggers, and I'm happy that you use the word trigger, because the use of the word trigger doesn't just come up when it really relates to the issue seeing somebody wearing the mask. There is a use trigger also is what sometimes forces people to react a particular way, and I want to juxtaposition that to the issue of, I know in recent times we've been dealing with the conversation of bullying.
Okay.
Why does people behave the way that they behave? Or you may probably say, we've had occasions where we say, well, all I said to that person was A, and he or she, they reacted. That also is as a result of that emotional trigger that's internal, I guess, based on muscle memory. How do we then?
Well, absolutely. Some of what you're saying make a whole lot of sense, but okay. So we, the conversation last night was about bullying, etc. Okay, not just bullying among children, because normally when you talk about bullying, we talk about bullying in the school, and last week we had a parent responding in a physical way and being charged for as it were bullying a student who probably was allegedly bullying a child or student. But then you had some adults going in the school, in another school probably, I think it was, and exhibiting behaviors of bullying again towards parent and or teacher. Okay? And you ask, well, where is that coming from? Remember, part of who we are and what we do to safeguard ourselves is to suppress our emotions. Okay? We go on a whim of suppressing our emotions. So let's say we are threatened about losing our job, our ability to provide for ourselves and our family. And that is bottling. There is a possibility, Joe, for us to explode. See where I'm going with this? When triggered by seemingly small things. So a husband who is in fear of losing his job, okay? is on edge. It therefore means that he can explode over small things with his family, with his children, with his spouse, with his co-workers.
And I'm agreeing with you. But what I'm asking before we take the break, though, how do I preserve self-preservation? What are some of the practical steps that individual can take so as to try to avert any potential mishap with that issue with that trigger? So I keep saying, Mrs. Campbell comes in and say tomorrow the GBN is going to be no longer. I get into that because how do you yourself, what can we do to protect our mental space so that we do not cross over to the dark side?
I think that, first of all, you have to start getting to know who you are. Know yourself, know your limitation. There is no question that each person, I must know my limits. Now there is something called impulsivity in all of us. In other words, we could be the most rational people, Joe. Not necessarily about education. I'm just talking about rational people making safe decisions about life, about things about life. And we are faced with a threat. And that's how the body works. That's how the mind works. When we are threatened, there is a thing called common sense. Common sense sometimes go out the door because there is a urgency with which we must deal with whatever is presenting before us. So somebody who barged into my house unannounced, uninvited, create in me a response system. If you get what I'm saying, mm-hmm. a response system that may not be rational. Okay,
and that's what I guess that's what you refer to as your primal primitive instinct. It kicks in,
and we have spoken about that on numerous occasions. You go back into this animalistic behavior.
But you would agree, though.
Brain
but that animalistic behavior can be cultured by certain means.
Absolutely. So here is what we do:
mm-hmm.
we teach ourselves self-regulation skills. We teach ourselves manners. We teach ourselves coping mechanism. We teach ourselves how to walk away. We teach ourselves how to come from 1 to 10 and 10 to 1 and breathe. We teach ourselves how to do deep breathing from the gut up. You understand? All right. Of these things. So that hopefully when we are faced with a stressor of an impending danger, a stressor of losing our job, a stressor of ill health, and you can't pay for that bill, or you can't send your child to school tomorrow because you have nothing left in the cupboard, the refrigerator, or in your wallet. When those issues come up, we do not necessarily have to resort to the animalistic behavior, but we can rationally look it in the eye. We can start looking for creative ways to deal with it. And if you understand now, Joe, as a result, we limit the incidence of deviant behavior. We limit the incidence of bullying. We limit the incidence of stealing, of taking what is not ours, even though we are challenged by a need or by necessity.
Yeah, there's so much as it relates to our mental state. But we have to take a quick commercial break. 29 minutes gone past the hour to the point for today, the 17th day of the month of January. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back to continue the conversation.
Your life is yours. Your future's in your hands. Your body is yours. That's why you need a plan. You gotta plan your family, avoid HIV, get the education from the Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
We offer offer STI screening, gender-based violence counseling, prenatal and postnatal checks, injectables, condoms, pap smears, and other sexual reproductive services. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Panchoo Street, St. George's. Whether male or female, it doesn't matter. We're here to make your life better.
Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
For appointments, call 440-3341.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining.
And we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we stand. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para cortar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are. One climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean.
Who does man of the party? Tell them it's 4-7 trade. Shout it, let them know it. We represent 4-7 trade. Who's the body's passing? 4-7 trade. Them no crazy like.
Welcome back to the program. 28 minutes onto the hour of 10 o'clock in the morning time. And for those of you just joining the program, my guest this morning, Dr. Agustin Panchoo, representing the new National Party. As you can well appreciate, on Tuesdays, we opened the platform for persons representative from the opposition, that is the new National Party. I saw there were questions that I was trying to figure out. Well, yes, well, now you understand why Dr. Panchoo is here. So we can clear the air on that. Yes. There is a caller on the line, Doc, and let me just entertain that caller as right now. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Hi, good morning to you, Joe, and your followers, and good morning, Dr. Panchoo. A couple of things. I am concerned about the tone of the program, the negative tone of the program. I know Dr. Panchoo is representing, as you just said, a political party, so we know what politics is. But to use the word trending and couching it together with job losses, to me it's very sad and it's very negative for a psychologist. Is job losses what is trending in our society today? There are a number of people from, even other island, Carriacou, for instance. I had somebody who had to do something for me in Carriacou, and they came here and in 2 weeks, they got a job. They left what they were doing for me in Carriacou. There are people from Cuba, I understand, who are doing menial work in Grenada. No big skill, but they find jobs. There are people in St. George's who say they can't find jobs, and folks are coming from the country paying buses, paying rent, and working. So this thing about job losses is trending, and it has a negative effect, a psychological effect on people. This is so unfortunate to use that word, trending. Another thing concerns me, the matter of what's happening in the schools. I left the school system 40 years ago as a teacher. I taught for 10 years. There were parents who came to school to attack children and the teachers. Then, I know of our former ambassador, Dennis Modest, about 1980-81, he got his head busted by a big brother of some father of a child. That is nothing new. In Grenada, we have a culture, I'm not saying it is good, we have a culture of bullying and harassment of people. Everybody has a nickname. Listen to this announcement. And most of these nicknames are not pet names. They are names to denigrate people and make them feel bad. That is a form of bullying. So we have a culture. In other countries, there is not that culture. Now there is social media and there is more violence in the society. So you hear a lot more of those things. You see them in real life. But Dr. Panchoo, it has nothing to do with people frustrated about not getting jobs. There was a lady came to me in a school once to come to fix me up. And when she heard the story, she was so embarrassed. She fixed up her grandson there and then. It caused chaos in the school. So to make it look as though these things are new, and it's all happening because people are frustrated about not having jobs, oh, this is sick. Please, get off that. Get off that. I mean, as a psychologist, you need to be more positive than that.
Thank you, caller.
Listen, that's not psychology. Please, that's politics, not psychology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your response, Doc?
Well, two things I want to respond to this caller. I think this caller seems as though he is not living in the same community that we all live. Okay? And he is entitled to his opinion because he has a certain directive to acquiesce to. But if you were to ask about what's trending now, that's creating emotional turmoil, I would say one of them is the MNIB, the government, and I want the caller to pay attention to what he just said and what is not what he's insinuating. The government chose to spend 4 days doing consultation over MNIB. So if that's not trending, then you don't know the meaning of trending. So let me educate you.
So let me add to this, Doc. But hold on one moment. I think we, for some reason, while the issue of MNIB, the conversation, is a trending conversation.
Yes,
right?
it is.
But the purpose of the consultations, as it is to put MNIB under the microscope so as to determine what's the best possible solution for MNIB as a statutory organization. But I don't think the focus of the consultation is to determine whether or not is going to end up in job losses. That, as part of the conversation, makes up part of the equation. Is there going to be job losses? Is somebody going to bail out MNIB financially? I think that's the big picture that is being asked, not necessarily to determine that whether jobs are going to be lost at all. It comes up as part of the conversation.
Joe, I think you have just defeated your statement because watch this. The reason for the consultation is to determine what happens to MNIB as an entity.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's a comprehensive evaluation.
Yes. So there is also, but remember that prior the consultation, think about it. Mm-hmm. Prior the consultation, the Minister for Finance came with 2 suggestions before the consultation. One was to terminate employment and restructure, and the other was to dissolve.
Okay, so let me
board. Listen.
So let me, and I agree with that. So let me ask you now. But hold on, sir. Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
MNIB as it is now. How do you determine what are the possible resolutions, the possible means that you can use to get a turnaround to MNIB practically, potentially?
Well, remember, MNIB is a statutory body.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's a statutory body, you can follow the parameters that establish MNIB. Mm-hmm. And you can do anything you want with MNIB as you can do with any statutory body.
For example, because we education the people.
Yes, for example, any one of the solutions that were put forward by the Minister for Finance.
So those solutions, those recommendations, are they recommendations outside of the box, or are they recommendations that would guide any other statutory body?
It could guide any statutory body. It's not, Joe, I think you're missing the point. Here is where I want us to go back. The caller said that job loss or pending job loss is not trending. I wish to differ. I wish to differ on the grounds that if you're going to say whatever happens to MNIB, whatever conclusion comes with MNIB, Joe, you have to understand that people must perceive that there is a certain precariousness about their well-being and their job. You have to say that.
And I'm agreeing with you. You're right, but see, but I think we are losing. We, for some reason, I get a sense that we all of a sudden we take in the MNIB conversation and try to put it in the middle of the room and take target practice of it. Uncertainty of job loss is not something, Doc, that has been happening just in the last 6 months. Even here at the GBN, which I've been employed for a number of years, there has been the uncertainty, for one, because of evolving media, social media, that traditional media is being compromised, is being questioned. That has been an uncertainty for the last 20 years. But GBN is still here. Other institutions have gone through the same peril. So I do not want us to focus, yes, while MNIB, there are concerns. I don't think the general conversation should be, well, it is intended that job loss, because I still think as part of the revamping of MNIB, there may just be some potentials for some new job opportunities, which may start with revamping agriculture, seeing it as a business. So I look at it quite broadly.
Well, absolutely, Joe. Let me say this here. You do not be mistaken. Whether it is GBN, whether it is MNIB, whether it is the airport, whether it's government, whether it's a ministry or a private entity, anytime that organization or entity seeks to do restructuring, it becomes a bread and butter issue.
But I agree. But it's a bread and...
So you cannot tell me that, for example, you mentioned GBN, that GBN has not lost people because of the turmoil that they face and the uncertainty about their future with the entity that caused them to go to other places.
But the point I am making is that uncertainty isn't one that just came out of nowhere. MNIB, for instance, racking up $15 million in debt that's literally has been the question of MNIB has been there for years. It's not a today conversation. But hold the line for me though. I do have a caller that is on the line. We go to the caller. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, Joe. He's trying to tie you up, man. He's a shrink. He's trying to tie you up. So listen while he's talking.
Caller, wherever you are, there's a feedback. Can you turn off your device, please, and let's have the conversation on the telephone.
I said
yeah, but there's a terrible feedback, sir. There's a device.
I said he's trying to tie you up. You saying the right stuff. He's trying to put MIB and forget about the rest. He's trying to tie you up. He's nothing but a shrink.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Thank you for your contribution. 435-2041. That's the number on the inside. We go back to the telephone line. 16 minutes to the hour. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm calling for the program.
Before you continue, sir, again, there is a device that I'm hearing in the background that creates a feedback.
Yeah, okay.
Could you take it off, please?
Very good. Yeah, I think exactly I was listening to the program, right? Yeah, I was listening to the program. It was going exactly about human pattern and behavior, right? Let's go back to the topic. Human pattern and behavior. It is not from since Jude, Bernard Carl, and the politics come into it, and everybody just changed it. And then you yourself, exactly as the host, started the politics. We're talking about exactly is that MNIB? police, anybody that work in any place, always have exactly a thing about their livelihood, their family, they have exactly what and they question our performance and everything like that. And they've been supervised and everything like that. The question is that the under politics about ignorant is not exactly about the NDC and I think where you're working. The question is this is an issue that come up. Maybe he used it exactly to make a point. But then we're talking about human pattern and behavior. If you're faced in a situation, how you going to behave? And let me keep that instead of bringing politics into it. Have a nice day.
Well, so much of human behavior. Not sure why he chose to shout, but either way, maybe that just highlights maybe who we are as a society, that we have not yet gotten to the point of being able to appreciate that we can make a point and being quite gentle and be yet forceful and not having to go over the top and be overly aggressive unnecessarily.
Absolutely. And let me... unless you have a call.
Hold for me. I have a caller that is on the line. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Yes, Mr. Cadore. Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
I would like your guest to determine whether or not he come there to speak politics or if he comes to help the society from a psychological point of view, how to handle difficulties in life. But, this man is so deceptive, it isn't funny. Believe me, I wanted to take up the radio of the time. This man is not honest, he's not genuine. He's a political snake, as the last caller, one of your callers has suggested. Thank you.
40 minutes on to the Doc, your response?
Not to this caller. I don't know that I want to respond to a person who wants to come online and bully me into responding to the drudge and the dredge of her own imagination.
Okay, well let's entertain another caller that is here. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Hi, good morning, Joe, and how are you?
Wonderful as always.
Good morning to Dr. Panchoo, Pastor Panchoo. Happy New Year to you. Pastor Panchoo, sometimes we look at situation and we put it in a like if it's the bad, you lose your job, and like if it's only that job, you depend on. Let us look at the 10 reach now for summer marketing board workers to go opening for them for a better job or a more paying job. Let us not feel, well, you lose your job and you don't have a job now, and that could trip you off and put pressure on you. Sometimes it could put a light on you because you have a situation that you feel, oh God, you can't do without that job. And in the next 2-3 months you lost that job. And then you're so happy one night, why I didn't get that job? No, before I would have do things. Yes? So let us look at it to see like behind every dark cloud is a silver lining. And let us give the people who expect to lose their job a little hope. Let us make them know there is better things in store. You're going to find another job and things might be better for you. Okay?
Thank you very much, caller. 435-2041, that is the number on the inside. We started the conversation, Doc, by hinting to the fact that we go through difficult things in life, and whenever we go through those tumultuous periods, whether it's the actual event itself or the challenge or the potential, as human beings we react to it. But very often that reaction is more predicated not on the event itself, but what we think in our own minds could potentially go wrong. And it is something that can affect our mental state, no doubt. But how, this is the question I'm asking, what are some of the practical things that we can do? Let's assume whether or not is the potential of job losses, we're still going to have to take care of our family. Some people have learned to become creative. We've learned to become industrious. We've learned to decide, somebody decides, I've been doing this for the last 20 years. Maybe I need to go back to school. I need a change of career. What potentially can we do in this ever-growing period of opportunities, prospects, and in the mix of it, potential for despair? What can we do?
And that's a very good question, and I want to start off by referencing the last caller, which talks about opportunity. You know, the Chinese, they have a meaning for the word crisis. When we are faced with a crisis, we do not see the bad side. They have learned to see opportunity. So for the Chinese, crisis means an opportunity is at your door. And so you ask, so here it is, whether it is ill health, whether it is job loss, whatever it is, whatever the crisis that we are faced with, how do you navigate for life? Because you know, all crises, Joe, you would agree with me that all crises will outlive you and it will outlive me. Okay? Ill health will outlive me. I will die and somebody else is going to become ill. Job loss, I am going to lose mine, but I might get one, but somebody else it's going to outlive us. So what we need to do is to be creative in how we approach crises, stressors in our lives. And one of the things, and we started to talk about that already before we started to have calls, but it's called resiliency. It's called bouncing back. It's called creativity. So for some people, it means that you need now to recalibrate your life. You become self-employed, maybe. Opportunities. Some people may go back to school, Joe. Some people may decide that I want to gain a particular skills. You know, some people have been foregoing developmental pieces to their life because they are stuck at a job or they're stuck in a relationship. And so now the relationship ends, whether it is familial relationship or at work relationship, and it gives them new hope, new opportunities to do something different. And if we could embrace that, but it's hard, Joe, it's hard because it comes back to the nuts and cracks. What we are saying here this morning, it's not that everybody will pick up. I lose my job. I am diagnosed with a terminal illness, that you will pick up and run with the crisis and create another opportunity for successful life. You have to understand how the mind thinks and how the body works. When we are faced with crisis, Joe, what happens is that some of us, we succumb to the crisis.
Okay. I have a caller online. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Hey, morning, Dr. Joe.
Good morning, Jesus.
Dr. Panchoo.
Good morning.
Well, Dr. Panchoo seems to be a man in a good position. I need a help. I lost a leg going 3 years now, and I suffering here very bad. I thought I would be a recipient of the C program, but that did not materialize. And as all things going, and I'm listening to your talk, well, I don't know if you're campaigning or whatnot for the opposition or whatnot, but I need your help. If you could help me, I'll be grateful. Become like Santa Claus. Do a good thing to the Grenadian people. Stop the, what should I say? Stop the political campaigning election far, too far.
Just 5 minutes on to the hour. We have enough. We're getting ready to wrap. Doc, I'm going to give you just 2 minutes, minute and a half there, to essay today's conversation.
Well, I think today's conversation had to deal with how do we face uncertainty, and especially we have started a brand new year. For some people, they started off the year with bad news. Okay, a diagnosis, a loss of a loved one, a letter of termination. Whatever it is you started the year off with does not have to be the way you end the year. For some of us, we had family, we had food, we had money to go to parties, we had burials that came for us, we repainted our house, and we're seemingly okay. But the challenges of life will be there, whether we face it positively or negatively, whatever the impact it is on us. What is important, Joe, and that's how I want to end, is the way we navigate whatever challenges that we are faced with. And for some people, they buckle under stress. It is therefore meaningful for people to find creative ways to be able to navigate the impact of whatever stressors that they have in their lives. For some, it may mean finding a better place to move into. Some people migrate. Some people move from country to tongue, from tongue to country. Some people develop new relationships. Sometimes it's a relationship that's toxic. So whatever the challenges are that you're going to face in 2023, it's important for you to think of your emotional and your physical well-being.
Think of your emotional well-being. Thank you, Dr. Agustin Panchoo. And this is as far as we can take the conversation this morning. As always, thanks to our listeners and our viewers. And as I often say to you, that life as it is, it comes with a mixture of everything. If life hands you pepper sauce, I say to you, do not complain about the pepper sauce. You make some pepper sauce. It hands you stones. Well, build yourself a quarry. It hands you lemons. Yeah, you think lemons are sour? I suggest to you, you make yourself some lemonade. Wherever you are, whatever position you find yourself in, while there are challenges, that position that you're in also provides the ideal opportunity for some areas of growth and areas of redemption. From all of us here, thanks for being part of the conversation. Again, thank you, Dr. Panchoo. It's always a pleasure, as usual. Until then, so long, everybody. God bless.